Hello, welcome to this Bob Talk. It's part of our series that looks at love from a variety of different disciplinary perspectives. I'm Dr. Kathy Shepard Stolley, an applied sociologist, and this talk will focus on the growing trend of including animals in the celebrations of love that we mark by weddings. This is such a fun topic area, but it's also one that challenges us to think about really some pretty serious things. So the way that we're going to approach this today is that first we're going to talk briefly about the animals that share our lives in our homes. And then we're going to turn to weddings here in the US, and we're going to think about what all this means and why it all matters as we move along the way. So you ready to go to a wedding? Come on, let's go. According to the American Pet Products Association, 2/3 of all households in the US, or just at 85 million homes, include at least one pet. And that's a solid increase since 1988, which was the first year the association conducted their survey. Then only about 56% of US households included a pet. But who are all these pets? Well, I'm so glad you asked. As you might expect, many of them are dogs or cats. But our pet keeping includes plenty of animals from other species as well, as you can see from this chart. And interestingly, if we include the fish, the longest line here, there are more animals than humans residing in our homes. So, more of us are getting pets, and these pets are increasingly being treated more and more like the human members of our families. So more than 90% of us now consider these animals as family members, and this is something called the humanization of pets. And we see this trend in the humanization of pets in the language. We hear it in the words we use. For example, when people talk about their fur babies, or their fur kids, or their junior humans, who are all parented by human moms and human dads as their pet parents, then we're hearing that humanization of pets in the language. And as we humanize our pets, we buy them a lot of lifestyle products that are fashioned after those for humans that range from, oh my goodness, this ranges from designer label outfits to organic diet foods to motivational life coaches so our pet can live his or her best life. We're taking our pampered pets to doggy spas for high-end services like therapeutic massages, blueberry facial. If a human can get it in a spa, a dog probably can too. And something like 1/4 to 1/3 of us think our pets are better listeners than our spouses and our partners. So there's that. And this trend toward humanizing our animals in our homes drives an economic engine worth an estimated $99 billion in 2020. And yes, you heard that correctly. I did say billion with a B. And the most popular pet names are now even human sounding names. So names like Max, Bella, Cooper, Charlie, Lucy, Oliver, and Sophia as examples have been trending in the top 10 pet names for a while now. So what's going on here? What's happening? Why are we seeing these trends? Well, there's a lot of speculation as to why we're seeing this shift in perspective on our pets. We frequently think of pets as making us happier or healthier or less stressed, or as bringing us together as families, maybe. There are shifting demographic trends that also mean more single adults in child-free households. There are empty nest baby boomers. And there's some speculation that maybe there's even a snuggle factor at work that has something to do with it. And what I mean by that is most of these dogs and cats sleep in bed with their humans, and the availability of more effective flea products has better allowed that and this different level of intimacy with the animals in our homes than we've had in the past. Or maybe there are other factors at work, but whatever the reasons and whatever the factors, this humanization lens shifts our focus to similarities between humans and animals rather than differences. And that's really important, the shift from differences to similarities. And the more we consider animals to be family, the more we include them in family rituals like our birthday parties or maybe their birthday party, taking them on vacation, all those things that mark family events as family. And the more we include them in weddings as well. So let's take a look at that since that's our focus for today. Our animals are helping us get engaged. How adorable is that picture, right? And they're helping us make the announcement. Save the date, our humans are getting married, as the sign says. And this is a real trend in engagement announcements now, having the animals assist with the announcement. And our animals are included increasingly in our engagement photos as well. And this reflects animals' special status as our intimates because we typically don't include other family members in these pictures. Now, there are exceptions to that pattern, certainly. I mean, there are always exceptions, of course, but these pictures generally, engagement pictures generally don't include existing children or other relatives or friends, but we are increasingly including our animals. And of course, we're incorporating animals into the actual wedding ceremonies, often in a really central way. And their presence might be highlighted to add to the sense of celebration and joy and just the fun of the day. And they might be included in the formal portraits, often in ways that will increase the joy of the portraiture as well. And there are numerous photographers now who specialize in wedding portraits with animals. And in the actual ceremony themselves, they might stand in place of, or in addition to humans, and fill important roles that we have typically thought of as human roles. So in this picture, you see a dog of honor, you see a big sister, and you see my favorite picture here, the dog with the sunglasses that says best dog. And that just makes me, as someone who's always had dogs in my life, just want to say, who's the best dog? Who's the best dog? They're all the best dog, aren't they? Anybody with a dog knows that they're all the best dog in their own way. So while dogs get the most attention because, well, they're dogs, there are other animals that are also getting in on the wedding act. And here are some examples of perhaps the less expected wedding participants. So you can see some of those fish even made it to the table in one of these weddings. And like anyone else at the wedding party, animals must, of course, be properly dressed for the occasion. These are Frank the Bulldog, Pete the Cat, and Mickey, a Russian toy terrier. And they're all decked out for a New York Times feature on well-dressed animal wedding participants. And by the way, you'll notice all those human-sounding names. There was Frank, Pete, and Mickey. And if you search the internet for pet wedding attire or other similar terms, you'll find thousands of sites. The New York Times found over 1,000 sites just on Etsy alone, often for custom-made outfits. And on Etsy, these outfits were typically $100, under $100 in this New York Times research. However, couture pet fashion designers sell high-end items that run well more than that, into the hundreds of dollars or even more. And speaking of couture, this is Coco Chanel. Coco is the dog, not the dress. And Coco not only knows how to dress to impress at a wedding and land a spot in a New York Times feature, but she was also a participant in the International Pet Fashion Show. So she is a well-dressed little dog indeed. And if our animals are not at our weddings in person, they might be there in any number of other ways. Invitations, thank you notes, cake toppers, favors, table placards, the list goes on and on and on. And on and on. If you conduct an internet search on how to include pets in a wedding, you'll find more websites and Pinterest pages than you can ever look through. Pinterest, oh my goodness, Pinterest pages, Pinterest loves animal weddings. Including animals in weddings and the wedding photos is so trendy now that the animals may, or they may not, even be animals that belong to the wedding party. Wedding venues might advertise animals as part of the attraction of using their location for destination weddings, for example. Zoos and aquariums are now including wedding venues as part of their revenue streams. Some places will actually even rent wildlife to be part of the event. Deer, for example. And interactive experiences with the animals might be sold as part of the venue's package. And in effect, in those situations, the animals really become part of the props and part of the wedding decorations. And the animals might be advertised as a way to make the wedding photos especially cute and memorable, or to ensure plenty of likes on social media. And speaking of social media, as a little aside here, dog weddings can be internet gold. And yes, dog weddings are a thing, often for charity or for fundraising. And a really great example is John Legend officiating at the wedding of his dogs, Putty and Pippa. And in this really, really adorable video, he serenaded the dogs with a rendition of All of Me, which his fans will recognize as his hit song that he had written for his wife, Chrissy Teigen. And Legend did this as a fundraiser for a town back in Ohio where he's from. So if you're a fan and you want something that's just plain a lot of fun, search for this John Legend video on YouTube. And for the royal watchers out there, who could forget all the pomp and the ceremony when Meghan Markle and Harry, Prince of Wales, got married? Well, here, this couple arrived in their royal carriage for their wedding at last year's New York Pet Fashion Show, all in the name of charity. So for the royal watchers, this is Meghan Markle and Harry, Prince of Tales. Meghan and Harry in the royal wedding carriage. That's just more fun. So what does all this mean? If we look through the lens of human-animal studies, that's a lens that looks really not so much at or about other animals as it is about the human animal. It's about who we are as humans and how we are as humans, and what these human-animal relationships reflect about us. So let's close with a lesson from a love triangle. And this is a kind of love triangle that's really familiar to many of us. So familiar. This is Nikki and her dog, Buddy. And the photo here is part of a set of engagement photos when Nikki became engaged to Joe. And you can see Buddy here. I just love this picture. He looks so proud. He's sporting his sign and he's announcing that even though Nikki's marrying Joe, he loved her first. I love that. He's announcing, I loved her first. And Joe said they were inseparable. This is Joe. They were inseparable, and they were both kind enough to adopt me into their pack. So Nikki and Joe and Buddy became a family. And the threesome set off on their happily ever after. But in a couple of years, Buddy suffered a stroke during surgery, and he died. And this time it was Joe who had a note for Buddy. And Joe wrote, "You loved her first. Much to our anguish, you passed on suddenly yesterday. I remember a moment when I was sitting on the floor and Nikki was sitting on the couch behind you. You managed with your last bit of strength to sit up and look back at her with those beautiful brown eyes full of love. I will do my best to live up to the high standard of unconditional love and admiration that you set. I hope you rest easier knowing she will never be alone, my friend. From Joe to Buddy. Well, I'm not crying. You're crying. You know you're crying. Okay, well, actually, I am crying a little bit. I cry a little bit every time I read that. But this right here, this is it. This is what all these animals in weddings lead us, challenge us to consider. This beautiful, bittersweet love triangle story is just so much. It brings us to a deeper place. It brings us to a place where we're pressed to consider deeper things. Things like, what is relationship? What is family? What do these concepts mean and who do they include? And what are the words that are in so many wedding vows to have and to hold, to love and to honor? When these words are lived in the truest sense, what do they require of us? And how do the animals who share our lives and our love and our world help us learn about ourselves? What must we do? What must we be? What does it mean to be better and most fully human? So, hey, thanks for attending this Bob Talk. Hope you have the opportunity to view the other talks in the series. And may we all be so fortunate on this journey of life and love to be accompanied with some animals by our side. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for coming. Peace. Peace out all.